That's big. Under the auspices of the Westminster Foundation for Democracy and the Young Parliament Forum of the National Assembly. He has distinguished himself as a young leader and is a recipient of various awards and recognitions, including 2020 Royal African Young Leadership Award of His Imperial Majesty Oni of Ife, alongside other notable Nigerians under 40 years of age. 2020 Most Influential Young Person in Lagos State by the Lagos State Youth Parliament. 2020 Opportunities Hub 100 Most Influential Young People, and 100 Beating Corona Heroes in Africa by the Future Project. Ibidapo served as the president of the Lagos State University Medical Student Association, LASUMA, graduated from the Lagos State University College of Medicine, and proceeded to interning with the Nigerian Navy Reference Hospital, Ojo. Dr. Ibidapo Fashina was just recently appointed as the managing director of the Royal African Medical Outreach, a subsidiary of the Global Outreach of His Imperial Majesty Oni of Ife. He's a member of the Nigerian Medical Association Lagos Zone and a co-founder of Remedy Health Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest, Ibidapo Fashina, Dakpo of Lagos.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
To bring you to studio. Hey, Lord have mercy. I had to pray and fast. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I'm sure
it's a pleasure here.
Yeah, some people will think that why we're dressing alike. You know, I told them in the studio, I can have Dakpo Lagos come here and I'm dressing. I have to match up with His Majesty.
I'm very simple. You have to dress than I am.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We beat the traffic to be here. So I know there's traffic all over Lagos, but if you have your phones, your iPads, you can just go to www.digits1024radio.com to listen, or just go to Facebook, Digits 1024. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to be hitting Dakpo Lagos with some questions about Nigeria, independence, the elections, and good governance, because all through this month, that's our focus. So stay tuned. We'll be right back in 1 minute.
Woohoo! Digits 1024 radio app is now on. To info at Digit Sound Solutions. Don't say I didn't tell you. Digits, live sound that is best.
All right, guys, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that musical break. We are still on our October series, and this is the first of these episodes with my special guest, Dakpo of Lagos. We're talking about Nigeria's independence, elections, and good governance. So let's start with this conversation. Congrats to Nigeria, our dear country. We just celebrated 62nd anniversary after independence. That is a kudos to us. But here is the question. For a lot of people, they say, if, metaphorically, we were to assume Nigeria was a human being at 62, shouldn't you by now have a grip on your life and your vision and be established at 62 years old? And there are other people who say, you know what, let's cut Nigeria slack. Nigeria, compared to other countries, we are just like a baby. So if you look at the USA, for example, is 245 years old. The UK is 216 years old. Germany is 207 years old. And let's come here to our continent here. South Africa, just here, is 112 years old. What do you think? What's your take on this? I mean, should we be looking and comparing Nigeria in the light of the development of these countries, or we should say, you know what, Nigeria is still growing, let's be patient? Or do you think there is something that needs to be said here urgently?
All right, thank you very much. Once again, it's extremely pleasing and great to be here with you, Mo. Thank you for what you do personally and for the country too in your own space. The question is quite interesting because I would go with the two school of thoughts. Yeah. The first thing I would say is that if you look at a country like Singapore, I think about 1965 thereabouts, Singapore was discussing with the neighboring country Malaysia that, okay, please, like, adopt us into your country, kind of a thing. Just like maybe Benin Republic, for instance, haven't seen that they are not doing too well. Now say they want to be part of Nigeria. Yeah. Okay, so maybe just a state in Nigeria. Their president to now become a governor or something like that. So that happened to Singapore and Malaysia. Singapore to Malaysia, trying to discuss with the mother country. But there was a change, and a leader came in, Lee Kuan Yew. And in 30 years, Singapore became a country that even some Americans want to naturalize in. So I would say the two. Yes, you can cut us some slack, but if you also compare with some people and some countries that have done this in 30 years, there's no excuse. If you compare with a country like Dubai that was just sand
Yes.
in some years ago, and then people invested money and all, and they transformed to what they are today. So there's still no excuse. I think it's a leadership problem. I don't think we should totally cut ourselves a slack. Actually, I think we should rethink that. Look, compared to what we can do,
Compared to what we can do.
compared to what we can do, we are not doing enough. But we will still celebrate where we've gotten to, regardless, because we're still in a country together. Anyway, some other countries did not survive internal wars and all, but we can still come together even after such unfortunate incidents. So I think there are things to celebrate, but while we're celebrating, we must reflect that we can be more.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Even when when you were using Singapore and Malaysia as an example, it also brings to mind the example that Nigeria was a colonial state of the British Empire.
Yes.
And you would think that at least to some level we should be able to reflect some of the value system of the British. Now look, someone just posted a picture of or a video of Nigerians in mass. It's a mass exodus of our they're all going where? To the UK.
Yeah.
Going back to the same people who colonized us. So so it's like we want to go back to the beginnings. Why is it that we are not imbibing those values from our colonial masters, so to say? I mean, UK is pretty standard. Yes, they're older, but if they colonized us, there should be some reflection of their system, their values. We should be able to replicate some form of their features of government here. So what's the problem? What is that thing that's not allowing us to, create at least 50%, okay, let's say 30% of what the Great Britain is?
All right. Thank you very much. The talking about the exodus that is going on currently is quite unfortunate, but it is what it is. I think this is like another wave of the jackpot thing.
Yes,
If we look at our history, that's happened before in our history in the 70s. Interestingly, the same head of state or the person who was head of state when the jackpot happened last, when if you check online, people had commercials then. Andrew, no checkout. Nigeria go survive and things like that. In the 70s, I read about things like that. So interestingly, let me not say unfortunately.
All semantics.
Well, interestingly, the current president was head of state when last there was a jackpot like this. So
Then
it's
he was military.
yeah, head of state. Yeah. So it's a wave. However, it shows that things can still get better. It's a wave. People are living. There will be some changes internally, and I believe things will get better. I believe that next year would start or herald a new period or a new season for this country. So talking about why we are not like the people that colonized us, I think we've not defined our independence. I think we've not.
I like that.
I think we've not identified who we are. We are trying to be like those that colonized us, but we should actually agree what can work for us. What worked for them doesn't necessarily have to work for us.
That's right.
So we have to agree on our own system of government. What is going to work for? I believe so much in regions managing their resources. Yeah. So I think that can somehow be a way fashioned into our system. I don't think it should totally be this system of governance, of government that we practice. We need to know things have been working before they came to meet us.
Yeah.
We've been having progress, we're having different systems. So now, is it to follow blindly or to actually ask ourselves what is going to work for us? We had these discussions at the national conference, then the national confab under President Jonathan. I don't know if anything has been implemented yet. But we need to just sit down and ask ourselves. We must not also, the mentality of that colonial masters is still there. So people have to dress this way. People have to, but these are not the things that are suitable in our own environment. So we need to, if you, the way you are dressed now, it should be acceptable if you are even working in a bank.
Even in corporate world, yeah.
Even in
Exactly.
corporate world, yeah. But people want to just force the shirt and tie or suit thing, and then if you are dressed in a certain way, you are not, and including English language, including so many things. I mean,
We should use Yoruba as like the official language.
no,
And
no,
your Igbo and your Hausa.
no, because come to think of it, in relating with people and making the average Nigerian understand certain things. I mean, well, how would you explain GDP in Yoruba now or GDP in Igbo language? But we are only saying GDP, GDP. The people are not understanding what we're talking about. But in a country like China and some of those countries where they teach some of these core things in their own language, the physics, the chemistry, and all is even taught in their own language, the people have a better grasp, people have a better understanding of these things, and they can work better with it. So I think it's important that we identify who we are. We make our own story, we write our own narratives, and we don't just copy blindly. We sit down and ask ourselves what is going to work for us. Yeah, because the UK is not Nigeria. Nigeria is not like the UK. We have different tribes here. We have different languages. It's unlike the UK. So I think we need to actually just talk to ourselves and agree that okay, is this what we are going to keep practicing? Is this what is working for us? Or can we change this system? How can we have this discussion that, okay, look, I think this one is better. Can we just tweak one or two things in the entire system of governance, and let's see if it will give us a better result?
You know, from what you're saying, it's pointing towards, that one thing Nigerians and a whole lot of people, maybe supporters, have been clamoring for: restructure.
Exactly.
Because
That's
like,
just the word.
Who is going to have this dialogue, and who is going to be responsible for implementing this dialogue? To see the effect of what you're saying.
So that's basically the word restructuring, which is also telling us that we are beginning to see that what we are doing is necessarily not working, or is not achieving the desired results. So that restructuring is key. So it's more than listening to the eloquence of our candidates and more than debates. I know we must have these discussions. We must sample the opinions of our presidential candidates on restructuring. What does restructuring mean to them? What does it mean to your party? And how do you want to go about to implement these things? So that's a very key aspect we must also channel in these elections. What restructuring means to these candidates and how they intend to restructure the country that would make sense and would give every Nigerian a place in this country.
Absolutely. We are having a conversation with Ibidapo of Lagos on Nigeria's independence, elections, and good governance. And we're just touching a few, things around these topics. And I think Ibidapo is beginning to lay the foundation for us. So if you are watching and you're watching on Facebook, you can put your comments on the Facebook, comments, questions, contributions, and we'll take time to read them out loud on the radio. Okay, so I'm going to go to my next question.
Okay.
So I was doing some research, right? And some of the things I put into the Google search was, which of the African country has the highest GDP? Very, very funny and very interesting. Unfortunately, interestingly, Nigeria has the highest GDP.
Okay.
Which of the African countries have the most natural resources? So South Africa came up number one. Guess who is number two? Your dearly beloved country. Our beloved country has the most natural resources. Who has the most land mass? Out of 54 countries, Nigeria is number 14. It has the most land mass. So we have the land, we have the resources, we have the GDP. In your opinion, why is Nigeria where she is today? With all these things, land mass, I mean, if we talk about talent, if you talk about most of the talented people, graded exports from the African continent, I mean, out of 100%, you will pick like 70% from Nigeria. Talk about tech, talk about music, talk about fashion, talk about this different industry. But why are we still where we are? I want you to narrow down to some of the critical factors that has put Nigeria where she is today. And bluntly speaking, I mean, I know with uh, no shades, no party, no shades on anybody. Let's begin to say this is why Nigeria's where she is today. In your opinion, where we are with all these great things around us.
All right. Again, thank you very much for that question. So I think basically that, okay, like you were saying, the GDP. In fact, the economy of Lagos is bigger than the economy of Senegal as a country. As a country, so we have a lot actually, but the I'm sure everybody watching too would, the thing that will pop up in our minds will just be leadership.
Leadership. Okay.
Unfortunately, or let me continue with our word. Interestingly.
That's the key word for today.
Interestingly. Interestingly, we are not importing leadership. We don't outsource our leadership. The leadership comes from Nigeria. So Nigerians are actually the ones. I mean, I tell people that it's not Togolese that have been leading us. It's actually Nigerians. So Nigerians have actually been leading us for the past 62 years so far. So when we look at the leadership, we only look at the leadership class or the political class. We don't look at the pool that we are selecting from,
Okay.
which is actually the Nigerians. So who are we as a people? What is our culture? We might try to fight it or hide it, but we need to deliberately have conversations about these things. What does being a Nigerian mean to you? What does being a Nigerian mean to me? Right now, I can say that there is really no collective dream, what we can call a Nigerian dream,
Nigerian dream,
or a
yes.
Nigerian vision.
Yeah.
There's really nothing collective.
It's just shades and
So,
division.
in fact, you have people that who believe that before they are Nigerians, they are first Yorubas. Before they are Nigerians, they are first Igbo. Before they are Nigerians, they are first Hausa. So, if you have all these conflicting interests, people are going to vote along their ethnic line because that is what they can identify with.
That's right.
They don't know any Nigeria. All they know is that first of all, I'm from this part before we talk about Nigeria. So so leadership is the major reason why we're here, because we've not been able to harmonize these resources. But again, I would fault that it is not just leadership. It is we ourselves,
Okay.
the culture, our culture as a people. What have we need the National Orientation Agency to work very hard.
But who's going to influence the culture then?
Okay, that's okay. I was going to that. Now that's why I said we need the National Orientation Agency to work very hard.
Okay.
I mean, we need to change certain narratives. I know the last time we had a branding for the country, I think it was the late Professor Dorakunle.
Yes, great people, great nation.
Very good. So that kind of a system. I mean, I was still in an office a few days ago, and the secretary misplaced a 48-page document that I submitted.
I saw that on your status.
I was like, and that would actually delay something that I'm supposed to get. And now this person is not the.
Was that intentional though?
No, it wasn't intentional. Most likely one of the well.
That's how 70 million can be. Monkey swallowing.
So, but again, you look at it and you see that these are people, and if this kind of people get into leadership,
yes,
we are going to be having the same situation. So,
right.
I think we should work on the training, not just academics now, but the educational aspect. So not what we are teaching people, but challenging people to self-evaluate, self-question themselves, think about these things, and let's have values imbibed in us, because the leadership class is not imported. They are a reflection of who we are as a people. We might deny it, but they are not new. These people are not strangers to us. They are our fathers, they are our cousins, they are our brothers, they are our uncles, they are our aunties, they are our mothers. I mean, they are the ones in these offices. So everybody's talking, but there's somebody collecting bribe in the secretary's office. That person is not elected.
That's why we can't fight corruption, because it's from the pool of the corrupted people.
So it's who we are currently. Except we realize this and start consciously making certain effort. I mean, I was discussing with a counselor friend of mine, and he was telling me that, okay, they got some street lights and he wanted to put in his ward. And you need to see people fighting. There's a house here, and then does it make sense to put just a few meters away from another house. I said, no, we have to space this street light. But a party leader says there must be a street light in front of his own house. Whether you've even put another street light. Another one says, no, a street light must cover his own house too. So everybody wants the... And meanwhile, we can have that street light spread in such a way
and it gives light to everybody.
to cover the entire street. But because the party leader must have a street light. So these are the challenges that people are facing and people in government are also facing. And they know this. That's why when it comes to election, they know that it must be motivated. Forget the grammar that people are speaking. There must be motivation for elections. So I would say leadership is the reason why we're here today. And I would say that the leadership is from the population.
Dagwood, let me suggest something to you. Probably it will alter the conversation.
Okay.
If you look at the American government, as it were, you would, of course, it's public knowledge that some Nigerians are occupying key positions. Some Africans are occupying key positions, running for offices, and some of them get elected. Okay, look at. Let's go with the debate. His father is African, his mother is, and he was able to ascend to the highest office in the United States. When I was asking you about, who's going to challenge this culture, we need external influences. So let me use the black race in the United States. When the Black Lives Matter campaign started, and it was a springboard from the incident with George Floyd. Now, most of the people who pushed the agenda for the Black Lives Matter are key black people who were in strategic positions in the American government. Some of them who have started foundations, who have started initiatives, who had a voice, so they could influence white America and they can push for certain things. I'm asking, our Nigerian government, you will find out that, just like you said, we are the ones leading ourselves. So we have never heard that a Ghanaian is in a key position, or a South African, or even a white, an American, or a British. Why I'm saying this, I feel that when we allow other foreigners to be able to play in our government, they also bring their own value system, which can also influence, So if you are saying we are still voting the same Nigerians, we are still, our system of sucking in foreign talents, foreign technocrats is closed and is only open to Nigerians, who is going to change the culture? I'm saying, don't you think we need to open government to other key people, other nations to play their part, to bring in their own ideas? So look at, for instance, the security situation. There was a submission by one of these key guys in government said, listen, we have told the president, let us engage foreign military operations. That, for some reason, they believe the Nigerian military has been compromised, which in some instances we have seen, reports, not confirmed because, of course, you cannot just bring allegations against them. But to an extent, we all know that there's some form of compromise in the Nigerian military. Let us engage foreign military. I heard about a story where someone from, I think from the United States or from UK was kidnapped in the north or something, and they brought their guys, even without...
I think it was in Niger, actually.
Okay, he was in Niger. And they came and they did the operation. I'm just saying, if we are talking about leadership, how to change the culture, is it not time we're going to say, listen, can these guys play roles in our government without any, motivated interest to convert us to their own? What do you think that idea is?
All right. It's a beautiful idea, actually, but I will even start with, the United States, like you said, over 200 years. So they've grown. They've grown. Yeah. So I think it's a gradual process. What we need to do first is to even see how a Yoruba man from Osun State can possibly become a commissioner in Imo State.
Okay, so states and stuff
so
like
we,
that.
we need to first do away with indigenship and embrace citizenship.
I like that.
So it shouldn't be a matter of where you're from as much as you are a Nigerian. So any Nigerian in any state in this country should be able to take part in the democratic process or add value to that state.
That's right.
So, but in a situation where we have here, I mean, you can't even. The United States you're talking about, I heard of a story of two brothers,
Yeah.
the same mother. They are governors of two different states.
Cuomo.
They are governors, I think Texas and Florida
Yeah,
also.
yeah.
They are governors of. Can that happen in Nigeria? Everybody will say, no, 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 you are not from this place.
That's
You can't.
right.
So, but I think Lagos is changing. We're having representatives in certain parts of Lagos that are not even Yoruba
Yeah.
people, and they are representing because that is where they are. That is where their lives have been, and they are Nigerians.
And it should be based on competence.
Exactly, exactly. So we first need to even embrace that first
Okay.
before we even now talk about. So we've not even allowed our
Not
brother
our own.
from another. Then we want to
I
talk
get it, I
about
get
bringing international people. So it's a. I mean, stepwise,
process.
gradual
We
process.
need
Let's
to grow to accommodate
yeah,
that
exactly,
kind of
exactly.
thinking.
Yeah. So for now, let's change that indigenship culture. It's going to be tough, but let's ensure that
Embrace the citizenship.
yeah, and embrace citizenship. That what it matters to us is that we are Nigerians. We have a collective ideology. We have a collective dream, and we're Nigerians first before we are any of our tribes.
Awesome. Awesome. We're going to take a quick break and then I'll hit Mr. Dapo with my last question and then we'll have a wonderful weekend. I mean, Dapo has really done justice to the conversation. If you have been enjoying it, I want to see your comments on the Facebook live video right now. It could be a question, it could be a contribution. I'm going to read the questions and contributions just before I close the program. So we're going to take a break and we'll come back and we'll continue.
Nàìjíríà yìí tí gbogbo wa ní kó máa gbọ́dọ̀ bàjẹ́ torí kò síbòmíràn tí a lè lọ àjò lè dàbí ilé ẹ jẹ́ ká fọwọ́pọ̀ ká fìmọ̀ ṣọ̀kan gbé kémi gbé.
Yes.
Bóyá kájọ gbé kémi gbé bóyá kájọ gbé kémi gbé Nàìjíríà yìí tí gbogbo wa ní kó máa gbọ́dọ̀ bàjẹ́ torí kò sí òmíràn tí a lè lọ àjò lè dàbí ilẹ̀ ẹ jẹ́ ká fọwọ́pọ̀ ká fìmọ̀ ṣọ̀kan gbé kémi gbé. Ó yẹ kájọ ṣàṣàrò ló dára ká finú inú ká fikùn lukùn kí Nàìjíríà ó lè tẹ̀síwájú ogun ọ̀tẹ̀ yìí ti tó ká gbàgbé ìjà ẹlẹ́yàmẹ̀yà Haúsá Ìgbò pẹ̀lú Yorùbá ṣe láṣàjọjì ìjà òmìnira ni a tún mára wájà èdìrẹ́ ogun èṣù yìí gbé kájọ gbé bóyá kájọ gbé kémi gbé bóyá kájọ gbé Jésù.
Hey, better Lagos. This one gonna come down. I think we should organize a dance step between all the.
Oh yeah. to be fun. Oh yeah.
All right, guys, welcome back. We've been having fun here in the studio. Dapo of Lagos is an exciting personality. It's such a delight to have him. And we've been enjoying what we've been discussing, Nigeria's independence, election, and good governance. He has provided so much insight, to the questions I've been asking him. So if you have questions, put it on the Facebook, digit 1024. We're on Facebook Live right now. You can watch. And You can download the app. Just go to your Play Store, Digits 1024. You can download the app so that you can always key into all our refreshing, entertaining, and educative content. All right. So let's take one more question. And this is the big question. Yes. So here's the question.
I'm scared though.
This is a bit more sensitive question.
Okay.
So, Bloomberg, an international online news agency, did a poll, and they put one of the four major political parties candidate as lead. So PDP, APC, Labour, and
the Concourse Party.
Caucasus Party. Okay, so funny and interesting enough, Peter Obi emerged leader in that poll. I mean, from the pool of those who voted, right? Peter Obi scored 72% among others. Now, here's my question. I don't know, I probably might be wrong, but this, I think, will be the most hottest campaign in the Nigerian history. Maybe because we are seeing the rise of an underdog. The Labour Party is said to be an underdog because they never thought, they could amass such support. And my question is it because of the candidate, Peter Obi? Maybe because of his perceived capacity to deliver based on his experience as former governor of Anambra State? Or is this sudden patriotic pull because of the Lekki Tollgate massacre? Or is it tribal? Maybe the Southeast says, you know what? It's our turn. Let's get behind this guy. What do you think is the reason for the popular underdog taking Nigeria and the world by storm? Do you think it's tribal? Do you think it's a response to the Lekki Tollgate massacre and the youth are saying, you know what, because of this happened? Or do you think this is basically just competence at work? And I'm not just to all that.
Okay.
I'm just using Peter.
Yeah.
Because that is a sensitive question for you.
So, okay. Well, it's nice I want to end on this note.
Let's end and go home.
All right, without anybody offing our mic.
Yes, don't off the mic.
So it's quite an interesting one, and I agree with you that the election is going to be one of the most keenly contested elections in our recent democratic history. There are various voters in this election, and like every election, there are motivations for voting, and the politicians know this. So there's always a motivation for people to vote for a particular candidate. Now, the motivation can be ethnic. Some regions saying they want to be president, another region believing that they should be president, and then another region believing that they should continue to be president.
As I continue.
So some motivations can be ethnic. Some motivations can be religious.
That's right.
Now, interestingly, I believe personally that the four, hope you know we have about 30-something presidential candidates. So without disrespecting any of them, we have like maybe four major. And I'm predicting that it's still going to be three towards the election. I think that Kwankwaso is going to push, support a particular candidate with all his, with his, that's my own personal belief towards the election. So we have, let's say, four, for instance, now, or for this sake, four major presidential aspirants. And I would want to use three. So, because I'm seeing only three currently. So, these three people have their pros.
Exactly.
I mean, they all have records in their individual, in their own right. So, what is going to decide this election will be the cons more than the pros.
The cons more than the pros.
The cons more than the pros.
They have the pros, but then the cons are going to be.
So people are going to sell or diminish another candidate with the cons. It's very hard to use pro to separate any of them. They are excellent administrators. They are fantastic leaders in their own right.
All achievers.
Yeah, they're all achievers in their own right. So it's going to be the cons. So people are going to be throwing physical stability and things like that, age,
Past indictments.
so region and things like that. So bearing in mind that they all have excellent or good level of pros in the first place is reassuring, which to me gives our country a bit of hope in 2023. To me, I believe that whichever of them wins is kickstarting another phase, which I believe would take us closer to where we want to be, because things are changing, and
There is an awakening.
what I tell my fellow young people is that, look, these people that we're trying to fight are not going to be around for a very long time.
That's right.
So what we can do right now is to start learning the ropes and properly positioning ourselves to be in a proper position to receive the baton of governance when it comes. So there are various motivations for the election. There's going to be tribal, there's going to be... So I won't be able to pinpoint which exactly.
Exactly.
So there's ethnic motivation, there's tribal. People will vote for a candidate because it's Christian. And that's going to be their own challenge. That another party is fielding a Muslim party, or another person is a Muslim candidate that is president. So another people would also vote for Muslim because it's Muslim. So there's going to be tribal, there's going to be religious consideration, there's going to be ethnic consideration. There's going to be stomach infrastructure, actually. I mean,
It's a constant game in the equation.
so I would not be able to pinpoint exactly what it is, but I guess there's a lot of anger.
Yes, there is.
Behind the candidacy of the Labour Party. I mean, so many people are angry with this government, and so they are just using that and they don't find PDP to be a worthy opposition for them to join. So they are just but truth be told, I feel they are fantastic leaders, but it's going to be cons majorly separating them, and I think that there are various voters in this election. So we can't say people voting for this particular candidate is competence, and people voting for that one is not competence. Different people, the motivation is different, and people have their right to their bias and their motivation.
Exactly. I like the way you answered it very intelligently and you deflected it. Awesome. Dr. Lagos, thank you for joining me on this conversation.
It's a pleasure.
I have enjoyed it so far. You know, it is always a pleasure to have conversation with an intellectual. You know, you're really cerebral. So I enjoyed how you were just dishing and martial out your point. But just before we go, just tell us, on radio and let the world hear it. Do you have plans to run for office anytime soon? So that we shall start preparing to come behind you. You know what to declare now. But of course, from your profile that we read, you
hopefully,
are positioned to serve. And I wish you all the best. We've had Dr. Lagos with us today, my very first guest in this October series of Nigeria's independence, elections, and good governance. And thank you guys for tuning in. If you have sent your questions, contribution, I will read it, and of course, we will reply. And of course, make sure that you don't miss my next guest. Next week is going to be awesome. So thank you, Mr. Dak of Lagos. Thank you to my producer on the console, and thank you to everyone who is tuned in to what? How do we say it here? A positive mindset is all we need for a better society. So think positive, speak positive, and remain optimistic to refresh Nigeria. And please, when your PVT come out, go and vote for a better Nigeria. Have a great weekend and see you next week. Bye.
Digits 1024 Radio app is now on Google Play Store. All you need to do is go to Google Play Store, type Digits 1024 Radio and download the app for free. You have no excuse to miss out on this amazing offer. Digits 1024 Radio, your refreshing radio. Woohoo! Don't you just get tired of looking for that complete package that you deserve? Well, I did. As an event planner, I got tired of perching from one place to another, just in search of that perfect sound, security, and comfort, especially in a conducive environment. Not too long after that, my friend Bimbo, aka Wakadube, introduced me to Digits Place. It had just what I needed. A cool environment, amazing sound engineers, not to talk of the quality of sound. top notch. I even got to find out that the place could be used for studio rehearsals, live recordings, small meetings, birthday parties, and even bridal shower with other packages. So just in case you want to know more about this place, you can call them on 0809 573 3330 or send them a mail to info@Digit Sound Solutions. Don't say I didn't tell you. Digits, live sound at its best.